As you may have noticed, the Miata here, she smokes more than a coal-fired power plant. I believe the cause of that are the valve stem seals. So, we have some original, genuine Mazda valve stem seals, and we're going to put these things in. Woo!
Maximum safety!
Alright, once you get all this junk over here off, you gotta take the valve cover off. I think they're all tins. Yep. And so you want to be careful. This should be like only done in a clean room environment. You don't want crap, just falling into the top of your cylinder head. So you probably definitely don't want to do it under a tree that's dropping leaves on you. And a guy with a leaf blower over there, but you gotta swing the dick you got, right? And that's the Miata valvetrain. I just pulled the plugs out, and there's number one. There's number two. He looks like he was running a little lean. There's three, also looking lean. And there's four. So I'm going to attribute these two to the kind of leak on the fuel rail. Hopefully that was the problem, and we'll run them a little bit and see if they get better. Alright, we went ahead and fast forwarded through a few boring steps. We got the timing belt off, the water pump accessory bullshit. You don't need that. Anyway, I think we're about ready to crack the caps on the cam journals. And I think you're supposed to go in some order or something, but yeah, just take it off. It'll be fine. I've already done the first 3 cylinders so I could practice so that I don't look like a complete idiot when I'm doing this. So basically what you want to do is get you a long ass extension, put it down the spark plug hole you're working on, and then turn the crank with a 21mm socket until this goes as far down as it will. At that point, you just start shoving rope through the spark plug hole into the cylinder. Sometimes it's hard to get down there, so what you want to do is get you a screwdriver. Sometimes you can help feed it down in there. Don't want to go too crazy with the screwdriver. We don't want to like mess up the threads or anything. But I've also found that kind of finger banging the spark plug hole seems to work pretty well too. Just doing one of these actions like this, the engine seems to like it. And then just sometimes you need some manual stimulation with some hardware. So just go until you get as much rope in there as you can. Once you get your rope shoved down the spark plug hole, you want to get one of these magnety things. These are great for removing stuff from the valve bores. And you just want to remove the lifters, so just stick it on there, pop it off. And then I had a real high-tech system with a piece of cardboard and like some Sharpie labels to keep everything organized, but I'm feeling lazy tonight, so we're just going to pull out the lifters kind of and keep them in the right order, because as these things wear, the bores wear and everything, and you want to put them back in the same place you found them from. So here I got this one that goes there, this one that goes there. We'll do the same thing on the other side, and then we're gonna pop out the keeper and retainer. So the thing in the middle there is the valve stem. The two little half moons around the outside are the keepers, and the big outer circle is the retainer. So we're going to use a special tool to pop those out. I almost forgot. Before we do the pop the keepers, you want to rotate the crank until it stops moving. And what this is doing is it's moving the piston up against the rope, which is then going to push up against the valves so that they don't drop into the cylinder and cause you to have to take the whole head off. Because you're doing this the lazy way and you don't want to mess with all this jazz over here. Just that. Here's the magic valve tool. It's Lyle, part number, look in the description below. And it's got kind of two pieces here. This part is the installer. And when you pull this out, you're left with the remover. And all this is like a little cylinder with a magnet inside. Let me see if I can prop up the phone on something and show you how this little son of a bitch works. Alright, thing on the valve, center it. One good whack. Sometimes two. Alright, getting tired. There we go. Retainer comes off. And then on the inside, your two little valve keepers. You can kind of dig those out with a screwdriver. That's what it looks like with the retainer and keeper and all that shit off. So now we just pull the spring out. Once again, we kind of want to keep these with the valves that go in. I like to press down on the valve stem to make sure that I'm not going to move, that I'm up against the rope that's in the cylinder, because we really don't want to drop the valve. At this point, you can see the little kind of circular thing with the brown center around the valve stem. That's the valve stem seal. That's what we're replacing. Now, there are special valve stem seal pliers, but Trey's on a budget and we don't have those, so we're just going to use some standard needle nose pliers and try not to nick anything on the way out. We don't want to nick the valve stem. We just want to kind of grab onto the valve stem seal with the tip of the pliers. I like giving these a little rotation action. That kind of helps to break them free. And then just gently pull. You don't need to go crazy. And then they'll just pop out. So that's what a valve stem seal looks like. And God knows what make or model these are. I think they're Supertech and they're supposed to be kind of shitty. Let's take a look at the new ones. This is what the new valve stem seal looks like. These are the genuine Mazda ones. You can see the design of the inside here. So I like to lube these up with a little fresh oil. In this case, I'm too lazy to go inside and get some, so I'm just going to dip my finger in the valley here and just put a few drippy droppies in there. Alright, my technique is to hold these like this because your fingers are probably too fat to fit in this bore. And then you just kind of come down in here and just try to get it close and then set it on. Now some people recommend like putting a piece of straw over this so that the inside of the seal doesn't get screwed up. That's probably a wise idea if you give a shit about the vehicle, but this is kind of just a for funsies project, and well, I don't give a shit about the vehicle, so we're doing this Trey's way. I like using a 10mm deep well on that same extension you're using to check the pistons earlier, and you just want to kind of gently set this on the valve seal, and then just gently push down. And now we're not fully seated. There's going to be two little clicks once we go down. So here we go. Okay, sometimes it's one, but that's on there. Good. So next we kind of reverse the process, except for the installation of the keepers, which is a royal pain in the butt. The keeper, you see how it's kind of dark there, and then you can kind of see the valve stem seal when it's like in the middle of the circle here. When we use the tool, we want to line it up like that so that the center of the tool is lined up with the valve stem. Here's the tool. Okay, this little guy here is spring-loaded, and I believe the idea is that the valve stem will actually shoot up into this body here when you hammer on it. and then this inner ring here, where you can see some wear, that's what kind of pushes the keepers down around the valve stem. You come in here, you get this tip, you line it up there, you push down, and then you want to kind of get it lined up so that feels about good, and then you're going to hit it with, I don't know, a stud blow or whatever you got, something heavy, because you really got to compress the springs. So forgive the socket wrench that's in frame. That's making up part of my tripod to hold the cell phone over here in the corner. Alright, get this situated, push down on it, get your big ass hammer and get it lined up. Assume a good stance, legs apart, wide, and then just kind of hit on it. And chances are it's not going to work. So then, if the keepers came out or anything, get the keepers, put them back in. Go ahead and give it a little compression. Oh, we did it! That never happens. So then everything just pops back together magically, and that one's done, and we repeat the same process on the other 15 of them. If your keepers get stuck like this when you're installing them, don't try to take them out. Just keep hitting it. Align the center of the tool with the valve stem, and they will go in. This is like half the battle right here. So don't give up. Keep hitting it. With the lifters all reinstalled and everything, it's time to put the cams back in, and you may notice that these cams do not look great. I mean, I don't know if you can see that, but that's really, really bad. I did go over these with some 600 grit emery cloth to kind of clean them up and polish the journals, and they are smooth. There's no real high spots protruding, so hopefully we can get, I don't know, some more miles out of it. But before you put the cams in, you do want to lubricate the valve train. So take like a gallon oil jug that's way too big that you're probably going to spill everywhere, and just kind of drizzle some, like it was olive oil, over the lifters and the bearings and shit. Oh yeah, we'll do the intake too. Oh, it's going everywhere. Oh, okay. So that's probably good. Make sure these are all slippery and slidey. You don't want to go in dry. You never want to go in dry. Now we're good to go. We'll take our cam, kind of lay him in here, like so. Alright, cams are sitting in there nicely. Time to put the caps back on. I got a little thimble full of oil. We're going to dip a little bit in there and just kind of finger these caps here. We'll set it on there. Boom. Important to note, each of the caps for the cams has which cam it is. That's the E, exhaust, or I for intake, and a number. So this is 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the arrow points towards the front of the engine, this way. So once again, I'll just lube these bad boys up, give them some oil, and flip that around, and just kind of gently set her on top. With the caps all on and just kind of sitting there, I think it's about time we put the front cam seals in, and I'm just going to lubricate this up a little bit. And then some people use tools or something. I guess they're worried about this getting damaged. You just kind of work it on there and it'll be okay. But yeah, bada bing, bada boom. You just push it on up in there, piece of cake, and then you'll do the same thing for this other one. We're going to start slowly torquing all these down, and I think you start here and you just kind of go in a circular pattern working your way out. We're going to torque these all to 10 foot-pounds with a torque wrench that's probably too big for this application. With the cam cap's all torqued down to, you know, about 10 foot-pounds or so. It's time for the timing gears. People make a big stink about timing engines, but it's not that hard. The intake gear, you line the little, or intake cam, you line the little dot up with the I. On the exhaust, you'll line the peg up with the E. And then you're going to torque this down to like 37 to 44 foot-pounds. And this is a 14 millimeter. If you just throw your torque wrench on it and try to torque it, you're probably going to have problems. So there's some little flat spots in the cam. Just grab a wrench, throw her on there, and then you should be able to torque it. Don't break! There we go, torqued. On to the next. Normally to time the engine you would take off this lower plastic cover here. I don't know if you can see in there, but there's a little mark that allows you to line up top dead center on number 1. We're going to do this the alternative way, which is not taking that off because we're lazy. And there's a little notch. So there's the notch. It's kind of hard to see sometimes, so you can paint it with a paint pen. And what we want to do is line this notch up with this gradation over here marked T, which is top dead center. Boop, boop, and we'll call that about good. And what we can do is if we look inside, you can see the timing gear inside, and just up to the top of it there's a little triangle that sticks out, and then on the timing gear there's a little U-shape cut out, and we want to line those up. To line up the cams, you want to get one of these one size fits all wrenches, and we're going to put them on those same spots on the cams to kind of turn them. And this is what you're looking for. If you look on this plate here, you'll see there's an E and kind of a little stamped arrow, and we want to line that up with the E and the little notch here, and the I should be kind of straight up. And on the exhaust cam there's a little I stamped there. Shut up! There's a little I stamped there and this little stamped line, and we want to line that up with the I here. And then we're just going to take our belt, just kind of slide her up on there, you know, something like this. Let's see. Okay, I might put the phone down, whatever. Okay, belt's on. Our E mark is still lined up. It looks like it's a little low, but it's not. Our I mark lined up. And if you count the teeth, this being like teeth 1, from here to right before the tick, so here, you should have 19 little nibs here. And that means you've got it on correct. And if we look down below, our tick is still lined up with the T. So now we're good to put the rest of everything back together. Alright, I got the spring of a thing all attached to the timing belt tensioner. So I think we're ready for the valve cover now. So big step forward. Don't forget to put some goopy shit right by the end caps of the cam and the timing sensor back here, otherwise you're going to leak oil. That's not going to be a good time. And alright folks, it's a moment of truth. I got the engine all buttoned up, well, at least buttoned up good enough to run. Topped it off with some coolant and changed the oil on it so we're not running on that nasty 10, 11, 12-year-old oil. And we're going to fire it up and see if we fixed our smoking situation. Big moment. So it took a couple days of driving, but the valve stem seals eventually sat down real nice, and as you saw, the smoking issue is cleared up completely. So in the next episode, I think we're going to go do some tuning on the girl, and maybe we'll even get to drive her fast. See you next time.